All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Three out of the last four seasons have seen the Toronto Blue Jays make the postseason, but they've been unable to win a playoff game, more or less a postseason series. And of course, the Blue Jays began this season, expected to once again contend for a playoff berth on the American League side, but that has not been the case so far for Toronto. Now, through 77 games so far in this season, Toronto is 35 and 42, which is good enough for the basement in the American League East. On top of that, we're talking about a Jays team that right now is about 15 and a half games behind the first place New York Yankees. And then on top of that, they're 6.5 back of the Boston Red Sox for the final wild card spot on the AL side. You look at this Toronto team, and I mean, you can really make a very strong and compelling case that this is the most underachieving team in baseball right now. I mean, you look at it, where's the offense? Because Toronto is near the bottom of most statistical categories in the American League. I mean, they're dead last in home runs, and you're talking about a lineup that includes the likes of Vlad Guerrero Jr., George Springer, just to name a couple. Where's the productivity? The pitching is near the bottom of the American League as well. And when you're talking about an offense that is near the bottom and a pitching staff that is near the bottom as well, guess what? That is not a recipe for success. And at the end of the day, this is a big reason why the Jays are a last place team right now. Now, I tried to give Toronto the benefit of the doubt earlier, being that they had a tough schedule. But at the end of the day, you got to go out there between the lines and you've got to go and take care of your business. And that is something that the Blue Jays have simply not done enough of this season. There is still a second half of the season, yeah, but Toronto has dug themselves a big hole. They are not going to catch either the Yankees or the Orioles for the top spot in the American League East. That's a two-team race. So you can change your mindset, if you will, as far as thinking about doing that. If you're Toronto, you have to focus on possibly trying to be a wild card team. But like I said, you're 6.5 back of Boston, and you've got teams ahead of you. Okay, if you're that you have to leapfrog first in order to say, hey, we're going to go out there and try to be a playoff team. At this point, you look at the Jays. They're riding a 6 game losing streak currently. They just got swept by the Red Sox, and then they just got swept by the Cleveland Guardians this past weekend in Cleveland. Okay. But you look at the rest of this first half of the season, and it's make or break time for Toronto because they're at Fenway for three more with the Red Sox beginning tomorrow night. Then from there, they're home for the New York Yankees for a 4 game set next weekend. After that, they're home for a 4 game set with the Houston Astros before they get on the road to finish off the first half of the season. Three in Seattle with the Mariners, three in San Francisco with the Giants, and then three with the defending National League champion Arizona Diamondbacks before they close out the first half of the regular season. I will say this: the way things look right now for Toronto, there is a very, and I mean very strong possibility that by the time the All Star break rolls around, the Blue Jays are 6 games out. Pardon me, the Blue Jays are 10 games under 500 and possibly more. And at some point, you have to say, when is the white towel going to be waved? Because there's too much talent on this team for them to be operating the way that they are. And the way that the Blue Jays are playing, it gets managers fired and it also gets front office personnel fired as well. You look at manager John Schneider. He was brought in to replace Charlie Montoyo a couple of years ago, midseason in 2022, and nothing has really changed. I mean, the Blue Jays have shown that they're good enough to make the postseason, but that is it. And I gave them the benefit of the doubt in 2020 when they got to the playoffs and they lost in the wild card round. It's one of those where I said, hey, you know what? They're young. They're going up against the the Tampa Bay Rays team that did make the World Series that year, and they need to build off of that. We saw them win 91 games in 2021, no playoffs. And then the last 2 years, they made the playoffs. They lost to Seattle in 2022, and then last year they lost to Minnesota. And again, all of these series have something in common. Toronto has not won a game, and of course, their big bats have not shown up to produce for this team. At the end of the day, you look at the Blue Jays and you try to give them the benefit of the doubt, but this is who they are. Okay. So I think maybe, just maybe now is the time that, hey, maybe it might be like, again, like I said, time to throw in that white flag and start over because I don't see it happening with this bunch. And it is unfortunate because there is a lot of talent on this team. Toronto right now should not be 7 games under 500. The Jays should be right there with the Orioles and the Yankees contending for the top spot in the American League East. I mean, you look at the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox are not as talented as the Blue Jays, but they play a lot better than the Jays have so far this season, and it's unfortunate. Like I said, I really want to see how the first half of this season ends for Toronto. And at the end of the day, it might just be time for them to have a fire sale. Very underachieving, very disappointing. And at the end of the day, it's like these last couple of weeks before the All Star break, it's make or break time. I would say let's see what the Jays are made of, but so far this first half of the season, they've really shown us that they're really not made worth a lot. So another underachieving season for the Jays. I'm not optimistic, but let's just see how they finish the first half. And my money, for me, yeah, I see them just simply limping into the first half. I mean, to the All Star break to end the first half. Underachieving team, arguably the most underachieving team in baseball. And unfortunately for the Toronto Blue Jays, that's the only thing that they can hang their hats on right now. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.